And Arch, I just gave you an instruction manual on how to edit the episodes.
I was listening to. I actually don't know which one. I'm a couple episodes behind, but I was listening to one where Arch apologized to you for having to edit this. I'm not sure who did it in the end.
It was
but
me.
it was really funny.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was funny.
I owe Blind a box of chocolates or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was very tempted to like pipe in and like edit myself into that episode because I think he apologized twice in that episode at one point.
Maybe, I don't remember. But you should have done that. That would have been really funny.
I thought about it, but I couldn't like find a good spot where it would like be coherent. And
Okay.
it was also, I think I also streamed that editing session because I was on my second channel.
Mm-hmm.
So was just kind of like, powering through my day to day and stuff, and then just like, do I really want to like record it? Nah. But
fair enough, yeah.
It wasn't
That was
actually
funny.
that hard to edit. Like, I don't know. For some reason, they thought they kept going off topic. It's like, well, you kind of didn't.
No, it was
Just
good.
following it
Good
along.
episode.
This kind of podcasts are better when they go off topic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not as strict. It feels more, conversational.
But something that keeps us from going off topic is episode 58. I'm now questioning if that's correct. I think it's 58. Episode 58 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. And I'm Blind, and I'm hosting this one, and I'm joined by Tootie Kiri. How are you today?
Hello. I'm good. Also, if the number is wrong, then it's my fault because I put that here. I think it's 58.
We've been recording a lot of secret like bonus episodes behind the behind the scenes and like trying to get a bit of a backlog over here at the Halcyon Frequency headquarters. So our docs
I didn't count those.
So yeah, and also when I'm hosting them and it's like, okay, so this one doesn't have a number, okay, and then I go back to the ones with the numbers. It makes me question my reality.
It's fine. It's fine. I'm sure that's it.
Yeah,
But I'm actually doing okay. I've had a couple of rough weeks and I also haven't been on in a while, but it's getting better. And today I actually feel happy.
well, that's good.
It's nice. Yeah.
I forgot what that
What
feels
about
like.
you? Oh,
I don't know. I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. It's very cold here right now. This morning it was -12.
that's cold.
We're
Yeah.
supposed to get a dump of snow tomorrow, so I guess I have to go grocery shopping today.
Snow?
But it's currently clear. It's sunny. I woke up to the sun shining through the window, which was a little strange. I haven't seen that in about a month. So maybe I guess I can stop taking my vitamin D supplements. I don't know. I'm okay. I'm kind of planning a subathon for next month, and then had to like move it a week because I realized I had a doctor's appointment in the middle of where I want to put it. So that kind of is kind of where my brain's at right now. I'm kind of just kind of existing. I don't know. Getting back into baking. I made brownies. I watched a really bad movie last night, which is a really bad movie that was also kind of a really good movie, and that was fun. I watched Johnny Mnemonic, which is a very, very 90s science fiction cyberpunk movie with Keanu Reeves. And kind of like a really good cast in general. Like everybody in that movie is somebody, but like it's an hour and like 36 minutes, and it's not very good, but it was very entertaining.
Okay.
That movie has a psychic dolphin in it. It's pretty. It's got VR headsets and a metaverse and like hacking where people just like wave their fingers around. It's a good time. And like a lot of CRT screens and like weird rocket launchers. It's got Yakuza. It's a pretty okay thing, and it like kind of actually, considering the movie takes place in the year 2021, it predicts a lot of things very accurately, including a pandemic. So,
Oh, I was about to say that sounds funny until you said that. It's not funny anymore.
It still is kind of funny, actually, because it's like a hysterically stupid parody of itself.
Yeah.
Because it was made in the 90s. But it's funny because like the design of like the VR headsets and stuff is like actually pretty close to like an Oculus.
Okay, that's cool.
Like it's kind of it's a very funny movie. It's very goofy. It kind of helps that like the virus that they all have is like, oh, your spine stops working because of all of the electronics around you. Which is just goofy.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, it's on Netflix. I don't know. It's an hour and a half. It's not offensive and entertaining. It has a good soundtrack, so I'm happy I watched it. It also like very much references the Matrix in like 4 or 5 places very blatantly, which is really funny because it's like Keanu Reeves referencing the Matrix.
Yeah. That must be such an odd feeling.
Well, I mean, I think it came out after the Matrix, but it'd be weirder if it didn't. So yeah, it's got a lot of dudes in black trench coats and big guns, not quite running up walls. It's fun.
It sounds fun.
Very 90s movie. That was the highlight of my week, I think.
Cool.
Aside from just streaming and doing my normal things.
Yeah. I've got a highlight too, actually. I was randomly asked this week if I want to be part of the jury of an Austrian Gaming Award.
Oh, I thought you were
I didn't know we had
like,
that.
Like go to like what's the word? Like go to court or something. Like oh no, that's awful. But
Oh no. Wait, but you say jury in English for that too,
yeah,
do you?
Like I
Like for
jury
gaming
duty.
awards. So okay. Yeah, no, but okay, so it doesn't have anything to do with courts or bad things. But I get to judge games.
Cool.
And I did that this morning. Yeah.
So do you
It
just
was
like
actually
pick
fun.
a bunch of games from a list? Like
No, so I got the list. It was 7 games because Austria is small and we don't make that many games apparently.
okay. Oh, so it's like games made in Austria?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Gotcha.
Partly or fully. So I don't know, but I think all of them were fully made in Austria actually. And I got this list with a blurb basically, what it's about, and a trailer to watch. And then I had to judge it based on the presentation, the art style, the business potential, innovation, and then give an overall ranking. And then also pick 3 favorites. That was fun. And the most fun and surreal thing was that one of the game, like I recognized more of them, but one of them I thought, oh yeah, I played this one. And I thought if I should just judge it based on that. And I thought, no, I'm going to watch the trailer because I'm going to give that also, the same procedure as the others. So I opened that link and it's actually a gameplay video of me playing that game.
Oh.
And it's funny because the dev asked me if he could use it for his website, I think. And I said, yeah, sure, I don't care. But instead of having like a pitch video like the others did, or I don't know, like explaining the game, doing something, it was just me. And I don't have anything to do with the game. So that was a bit odd. I deducted points for that actually.
I was gonna say I'd be like 0.
Yeah, I gave less points for presentation because
funny.
That was really funny and very surreal.
Wow. Yeah, I was gonna ask like just how many of them you recognize, but yeah, I guess that's kind of funny.
I recognized
but
two.
When did the awards get announced for this?
In like 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks.
Okay. I mean, it is.
Because we have
award season, so
yeah, we've got a festival, like a gaming and culture festival in one of the cities in Austria, and that's when they're gonna announce the winner.
Yep. Well, I mean, best of luck to your nominees, I suppose. And
yeah,
that is really funny. That developer just submitted your. I wonder if that was like a mistake.
I don't know.
That's
it felt odd.
It's like
yeah, it was cool to be part of it.
I've definitely had
as a
developers use my footage for things before, but like now I wonder.
Yeah, but that seems like so official, right? I mean, I suppose only the judges see that, right? But
I guess it also depends.
Still, wouldn't you want a proper presentation of your game, not just a random person playing it?
Yeah, I guess it depends on like how seriously you take the award.
I guess, yeah.
As well. Like, I could super see like a developer being like, whatever, we just need some footage of it being played. Use this one. This is good footage.
Yeah,
So
possibly.
yeah.
I mean, I don't mind. It was just
just kind of
funny.
funny.
Yes.
Yeah, aside from that, my week was kind of quiet. I mean, I'm basically just like in mellow period, right? You know, like Dwarf Fortress had its big minute in the sun, and that minute in the sun is pretty much past, and so now it's just like waiting until the next minute in the sun, basically, and also trying to survive all the other game launches. Like I think Kerbal came out this morning, and you know, there's been there's been a lot of other pretty high profile releases recently, so been pulling people away from the Dwarf Fortress directory. You know, Sons of the Forest just came out and sold a bajillion copies. Company of Heroes 3 is out and has mixed reviews. And like it's
does it?
Yeah, it does. I just hovered over it and it says it has mixed reviews. So actually, how's Kerbal doing? It's either overwhelmingly positive or overwhelmingly negative, and it's neither in between. No, it's also mixed. Okay, that checks out. 45%. Oof. Oh boy. Must run like sand. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
But then Kerbal has really high minimum requirements.
I'm not surprised by this. Yeah, no, they require a 2060. 12 gigabytes of RAM. That's actually kind of a lot for some people.
It is.
And okay, it doesn't actually require the biggest processor, but I'm not surprised by that at all. I mean, they recommend a 3080, which not to be dismissive of people's computers, but for current gen technology, that's not exactly a new card. So,
I mean, it's true, but
it's not like they're.
I mean, I don't have it.
Not like they're requiring a 4060. What card are you using?
Got a 2070 Super.
Okay, yeah, then you'd be fine. But
I would be, but I would puke all over it. So.
Oh, probably. I mean, to be fair,
but my PC could handle it.
Those kind of orbital technologies games make me nauseous. Like watching Kerbal half the time makes me nauseous. So like, I feel you there. It's like for the same reason that like Super Mario Galaxy makes me nauseous. But
that's sad.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless it's like a cockpit view space game, I basically can't do it. I can do cockpit view space games though. But yeah, I don't know. So there's just been a lot of big releases recently, and a lot of people getting excited for a lot of things that aren't Dwarf Fortress. So I've just been kind of in sustaining mode, which is I don't know if you've ever been in that kind of situation as a content creator, but like where you're just kind of waiting for the next thing and there kind of really isn't much that you're interested in. It's just kind of almost stress-inducing for kind of no reason, not because there's a lot happening and not because there's a lot to do, but because there's nothing happening and you don't really know what to work on. So that's kind of where I've been recently, which is why I'm just kind of mellow in the middle of like, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, no, I get that though. And that just reminded me of something that I want to talk about when we talk about games.
Okay.
Thank you.
Speaking of new releases, apparently Blood Bowl 3 has mostly negative reviews.
One of my viewers was complaining about that.
Sad. What?
I never played any of them.
Do you know what Blood Bowl is?
I do, yes.
Okay.
I just never played it.
I mean, Blood Bowl 2 is like a solid tactics game. Like, if you ever want like a good turn-based tactics game with like a lot of RNG and dice and like really silly outcomes, it's a fun game to play against somebody that you know, so you can throw things at them. Where they like run a tractor over a bunch of your dudes, but like it's just a goofy series of games. I wonder what's up with that. So
mostly negative, you don't see very often.
Yeah.
Stability issues apparently. Worst launch, unplayable. Oh, that's sad.
In fact, somebody on my friends list left a negative review on it. Damn. Yeah. No. Yeah. It's that. I mean, Cyanide Studio has like mixed results with their output of like stability on launch, especially. But generally, their games are quite well received, even if they're a little janky. That's strange. Must be pretty bad. But since you said you've got stuff to talk about when we talk about games, why don't we just dive into games? We'll be back right after this. And we're back with episode 58 of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. So, games, Kiri.
Yeah. So what you said about not having anything new that you want to cover and not finding anything. I had this. I was basically waiting for other releases, and I thought, I love winter and snow, and I say that Frostpunk is one of my favorite games, but I've never actually finished it.
Wow.
And so I started it again. I know, wow, it's horrible for me.
It's not that long of a game either.
I know. It's just that. Okay, so that was in 2019. I think I played it. So, but after a year after it came out, and I was streaming it, but my PC back at that time couldn't handle it. So the further I progressed in the game, the colder it got, the more storm effects were and snow particles. And eventually, it was just a podcast with a still of me. So I dropped every single frame, and I just had to stop streaming it, which was really sad. And I upgraded my PC, but I never went back to the base game. I did play the DLCs, and I finished those when they came out, and they were absolutely amazing. But I just never finished the base game. So I went back to it on stream, and it was really fun, but I think I threw my run by following paths for achievements. And I think my run is just not salvageable anymore. I did get achievements for it, though. I think I have to start over. It's worth it.
Well, I mean, personally, for me, the way I always play through games, especially if there's like achievement routes and stuff, is I play through it first without paying attention to any of that, and then I go back and do the achievements if I really like the game. But yeah, I mean, definitely that's one way to play.
I normally would do that too, but then because my community knows that I like achievements, one of them mentioned, hey, if you accept all these people, you get an achievement. And I double checked because you can never trust chat. And they were right. So I thought, all right, well, I can take in the first group. And then that was a lot of people, and things started looking bad. So, well, I've already accepted the first one. I can accept the second one too. And now we're running out of food and coal and everything, really. But I accepted the last one too, because then I got the achievement, but we're doomed.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I couldn't resist. You hold an achievement right in front of me, and I have to get it.
I have a fix for this. Don't look at the list of achievements.
Yeah, but
you know, I have this problem with achievements where half the time I look at them and they're all spoilers.
That is true.
Especially if it's something with like a campaign. Like I won't look at the achievements until I'm done.
No, I don't either. I'm the same. Yeah. But I've played Frostpunk before.
Yeah.
And I know where it's headed, so I don't have a problem looking at achievements. But definitely, if it's a story game or if there's anything else and I've just started playing, I don't look at the achievements until at a point where I think like, okay, I've seen it. I know what the game is about. I know where it's headed. Maybe I finished the story. Then I'll look at achievements.
Yeah, like as an example, I think Inside just straight up has like alternate ending spoilers in the achievements. Just by looking at the
you don't want to see that.
So like I kind of wish with a lot of games that like they would just like hide all achievements until you finish it once, which some games do. But
I've never seen that before. I think
hidden achievements are a thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, hidden achievements, but then they don't pop up after you're done.
Yeah, but there's ways to make them pop up.
Oh yeah, I know. They're not hidden for me, but
yeah. I kind of it would also be great if like they could do what I think Xbox does this, where it's like story related achievements are in their own tab, and you have to like click them to make them pop up.
That would be nice.
Which would be nice, but you know, new features on Steam that they don't do that. Yeah. They wheel their desks around and work on their CS:GO skin gambling ring. That's all that they do over there. So congratulations on returning to the worlds to the world of winter and Frostpunk once again. And I wish you best of luck in 100%ing it. So since we're talking about games that we're returning to, I returned to a game this week. Because shortly after Dwarf Fortress came out, this little silly developer thought it would be a great idea to release his game out of early access, which is Warsim. So I didn't touch it because I think I put up like a video on YouTube about it. It was like, Warsim's out. You should go play Warsim. It's pretty good. And then like just went off and played Dwarf Fortress for another 4 or 5 weeks. But since things have calmed down a little bit, I've wandered back into the realms of Warsim. And Warsim, the Realm of Aslona, is a ASCII kingdom management game. It's like $9 or your regional equivalent. And to quote the developer himself, if you can't afford it, steal it. And if you don't want to steal it, DM him on Twitter, and he'll send you a key. Anyway, it's a...
That's an interesting approach.
Certainly, but I mean, it works for him. He also responds to every single Steam review.
Yeah.
So if you leave a review, he will respond to it.
Wow.
He's kind of a crazy British dude, and I have a lot of respect for the guy. Also, alongside of releasing the game in 1.0, he also released all of his generators for free. So the way Frostpunk, or not Frostpunk, the way Warsim works is it generates you one of 90 something million custom races, or like 8 of them, essentially, and it populates this very handcrafted little world with these custom races, and they all have their own custom goals. And then you go through and you build your backstory based on character creation, and then it kind of turns into ASCII Crusader Kings with a very heavy focus on like managing a throne room. So you have 13 options, and it's played entirely on like the keypad or like numpad or like the numbers on the top of your keyboard. You just like hit a button and then press enter, and it's very much multiple choice. It runs in what looks like a command line window, so it looks kind of like MS DOS. But it's just, it's an ASCII management game. So you literally there's no real options menu in game. Like you right click the top of the window and you can set the font to whatever you want. You like change the scaling and stuff and make it full screen. It's very much like a game that shouldn't exist in the current year, but does for some reason. And I love the fact that it exists. And the kind of beautiful thing about Warsim is, there is so much packed into this little tiny game that you can just kind of keep playing it. There's a little mechanic where you explore like an overworld thing and you discover new locations. And every now and again, you'll discover a location that's like, it's a city. And there's like 300 screens in this city. And when I say screens, it's like you hit a number on your keyboard and it takes you to a set of like 12 more options, and you hit a number on your keyboard and it takes you to a set of 12 more options, and you hit a number on your keyboard and it takes you, and each one has like its own little jokes and bits and dialogue and little things that you can do and side quests and opportunities for your kingdom to trade and people that you can do dealings with. Like there's a whole black market and a guy that you can like set up like trade route deals with. You could completely, you can discover like a little location that just like completely changes the economy of the rest of the playthrough, and it's super neat, and it's very handcrafted, but at the same time it's like it's random enough that each run it's worth doing different runs just playing as a different type of character because there's so many different ways through it. Like right now I'm playing as a gambling degenerate who just wastes the entire kingdom's revenue on coin flip games and betting in taverns and on gladiatorial battles. And I keep losing all of my money and everybody hates me. But it's the law that everybody has to wear hats. So they're kind of happy about that, I'm assuming.
That's great.
It's halfway like a slapstick comedy, like jokey bit game, but also like kind of a weirdly compelling little strategy game. And then once you have done everything you can do in a given year, then you end the turn, I guess, which is just like the last option on the menu. And then you pick who you want to invade or what territories you want to defend, and then it rolls all the dice to see where you come out on the next year, and then you collect all your taxes and you go and you do it again. And so it's a pretty quick little loop, and if you're playing on your own time, it can get very fast. Like I can play through a year in like a couple of minutes if I'm playing on my own time because I can read pretty quickly. But like as a game for streaming, it's just like I'm going to do silly voices for every character, and I'm going to arrest every single person that comes into my throne room that complains, and I'm going to make a bunch of a bunch of celebrations and give them funny pun names because that's what you do. And it's just a good time. There's a lot to be enjoyed in that game, and it's really cool seeing it get, up to its overwhelmingly positive status and holding it. Like the thing's got 98% positive reviews. Like it's a weird thing.
That was impressive.
People don't make games like that anymore. And it's not going to be for everybody, but out of all of the weird games that I talk about, this is maybe one of the more normal ones or easier to get into ones, because there is very much a game there. It's not the sort of game most people would stream, but it is a very fun game to stream because there's a lot of opportunities to be like, hey, chat, which option of 4 here should we take? And then chat just like gets mad at you when you take
Yeah, exactly.
option. So
you can incorporate them.
It's a fun game. And then like, a goblin shows up and throws up on the floor and tells you a bad joke. And then you like upgrade your throne room so you have a trap door and you can drop them into a pit of lions.
As you do, of course.
Naturally, yes. Or, you could just like enslave everybody and turn your entire like civilization into a slave cult and then get assassinated, which happened to me once. Yeah, it's fun. It's a good game. So that's Warsim, the Realm of Aslona. Check it out if you want. Kiri, you've got a couple games on your list.
Pretty funny.
Which one do you want to cover next?
Since we're talking about war, how about Company of Heroes 3?
That is war.
I mentioned that earlier. That is war, yes. World War II. I played the beta for this, I don't know, several months ago. I don't remember when that was actually. And now the game is out. And it's really fun. But so I've never played the previous Company of Heroes games. So I don't actually know if that's new to the third one or not. But when I played the beta, it was just an RTS battle.
So I played Company of Heroes 2. So I just be like, was this in the old one? I'll be like, yes or no, based on my very rusty memory of that older game.
That is perfect. So now I played the tutorial and then I started the Italy campaign. There's also another one. But with the Italy campaign, you've got an RTS battle. And then it turns to a turn-based world map.
That's all new.
And I was so confused. I mean, it's not bad, right? It was just not what I was expecting. So it's basically a total war map, I would say. And you have your units. You move them around. You take over towns. But the towns don't lead to, like, taking over the towns doesn't lead to a battle unless there's actually an army station there or it's a mission. Some towns have the mission text above them. So that means this has to be fought in RTS battle, which is really cool. But then when you just fight an enemy army on the world map, you could actually auto-resolve it, which I guess is cool, saves time. But I was not expecting it, and I don't know, it confused me so much. I was actually disappointed because the prologue forces you to auto-resolve the battles. I'm like, no, please let me fight this. I don't want it. But yeah, so the prologue is very scripted, and you can't really do anything else but follow it, which was annoying to me. But now that I'm out of the prologue, it's really good. I like it, and the voice acting is incredible.
I'm surprised that you were surprised about the like turn-based portion, because like that was the entire selling point of this. Was like, yo, we're making Company of Heroes again, but it has a total war map.
I missed that. I completely missed that.
Huh. I mean, I heard that constantly, but yeah, for me it's really neat because Company of Heroes was always kind of it's like you didn't play the older ones, so like Company of Heroes was always, I don't want to say like Age of Empires in its structure, but the campaign for Company of Heroes was just like for the older games was just map done.
Yeah, and that's what I was expecting.
Right, and that's a way to do a campaign for an RTS, but what that doesn't do is it doesn't keep people playing that RTS, right? And it doesn't take a single player audience and grab them and keep them playing it. It's great for a multiplayer audience because they won't play that anyway, and they just go play the multiplayer game, which is kind of what Company of Heroes is traditionally. It's very much actually like an esports RTS game, which is weird to say, but like the competitive scene around Company of Heroes is huge to the point where like I could like name a couple of streamers that stream almost nothing but Company of Heroes. Company of Heroes 2. And they've been streaming Company of Heroes 2 as long as I've been on Twitch, basically. And still stream it and still take part in competitions. It's like kind of like mini StarCraft in that way. I mean, it's very much smaller than StarCraft. It's a smaller audience. But like, it's not a small competitive RTS scene for Company of Heroes. So when you have that kind of campaign, it makes it even harder for a casual audience to stay interested in the game. And it's very clear to me that they're just trying to, I mean, it's a Sega published game, right? So like they're trying to get in on that Total War money, I suppose. And it's gonna, I guess, be really curious to see whether or not the changes that they've made to it to make it a more casual friendly game annoy the competitive audience, because like that's a really difficult balance to make. And like something that I know they've done for the single player game that is not in the competitive game, that is not in any of the older games, is like there's real-time pause now, so you can pause. And that is something that the older games never had, even in the single player. Company of Heroes, even for me, was a campaign I wasn't able to finish on the older game. As Company of Heroes 2, because it was just so hard, especially with no pausing whatsoever, because like it's a very micro-heavy game where you're constantly like, I need to position this squad correctly or they're all dead.
Yeah.
And it's also a style of RTS that like not many people make. Like, what is the name of that studio? Destructive Entertainment made a one that was basically Vikings, but this... the people who made that super edgy game Hatred. No, hold on. Let me see if I can look it up. But yeah, Destructive Creations made apparently they made War Mongols. Weird. They made a game called Ancestors Legacy. There it is. Ancestors Legacy was essentially this, but like this style of RTS, like this kind of squad-based RTS, but like with like Vikings, right? And it was okay. I remember playing through that campaign, which was just mission, and thinking it was all right. But the competitive scene never took off because it was apparently poorly balanced and they didn't like it. So they all went back to playing Company of Heroes. So I guess I'm curious to see, like, where in 8 months for this game, is there a casual audience for this game? Does the competitive audience move over at all, or do they stay on the last game, because most of the tournaments for it anyway are community run? And does it catch on with the casual audience, and does that casual audience convert into competitive audience? Like it's neat.
Yeah, good question. I certainly had a lot of fun playing it, and while I was surprised, it was good.
I realized that was a bit of a speech.
That's okay.
So are you gonna play through a full campaign of it, or do you think it's?
I want to. Yeah, I want to.
Neat.
The competition was big with the other big streamers playing it as well, but yeah, I don't know how long a campaign is.
Yeah,
I can't say. But definitely.
It's really hard to tell how long campaigns are, especially with like those turn-based overworld maps, because it's just like, well, yeah, it just kind of continues as long as you want it to in some cases.
Yeah, I suppose so. And then it's got pause as well. I know that that's a new feature, so it's got a tactical pause in the RTS battles, so you can just pause and then you can issue orders and queue them up and stuff. Which makes it also last longer, because then you think about it and then you pause and talk to chat. So my chat called it the chatical pause. So
did you ever play Men of War?
No, I didn't.
Because Men of War is kind of... well, it's dumb to say Men of War is kind of like this. Men of War is like this, but you only get like 8 dudes.
Okay.
And like vehicles are drivable, and it's all real-time pause. So it's like, I'm going to take one guy and put him here and like position him behind like a bench. And and it's also a World War II game, right? And he's going to peek over and like look, and then this guy's going to go over here, and then this guy's going to get on a tractor and start driving the tractor through a wall. Like there's like little drivable vehicles and stuff, and it's very much like a much smaller scale kind of RTS where you have like maybe a dozen dudes tops, and your goal is to like kill one particular person or get past a point on the map or like get to a objective point. Men of War was a very interesting game that I always think of whenever I'm playing Company of Heroes, because it's kind of like, hey, it's Company of Heroes, but way smaller.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned that, I just looked it up to make sure, but I've never played it. And I found that there's a Men of War 2 coming out this year.
Yeah, I think that's one that's been like knocked around for a bit. It's a weird franchise because like it's, I think, changed ownerships at one point. But yeah, no, Men of War is
looks cool.
It's a neat franchise because like almost any vehicle in the game is like jackable and drivable usually, so you can get like.
Oh, that's cool.
If there's just like if you manage to disable a tank, you can just like get 2 dudes into a tank and then just start driving and shooting with a tank, which is also fun. But yeah, no, this just makes me think of Men of War, and it's also interesting because I think the original Men of War came out around the same time as Company of Heroes 2, so it's like we're back in 2009.
Yeah.
Weird how games work
Good
like
stuff.
that. Speaking of 2009, let's jump back another decade and go to like 1993. So I last night I played through the entirety of the demo of the System Shock remake. Which, man, I'm so excited to play a System Shock game. Like, I assume you don't have. Do you have any affinity for System Shock at all, or Bioshock?
No.
So,
I can't play them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the original System Shock, you probably could actually, because the original System Shock, and I mean like System Shock Enhanced Edition, it's a first-person game, but like to move the camera, you have to hit E and click and drag with the mouse, and it's basically flat. Like it is primitive first person.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
It is primitive first person to the most degree, because like when the original System Shock came out, this was before they knew how to make first-person games. Right. This is like, I think you'd hold W to move in a straight line. Then it was like E and mouse to like move the camera. And then you'd like it was practically a first person point and click. It was that game doesn't age very well. But like the world and the gameplay and the mechanics do age very well. And the System Shock remake, which I think I've talked about on this podcast in the past, is being made by Night Dive Studios, and Night Dive are pretty much responsible, from what I can tell, for a lot of old games coming out on PC. It's a studio that their entire business model is, we're going to find old game that has an audience that hasn't been playable legally for a while, buy the rights to it, and then make it run on modern OSs and re-release it. And maybe like fix the resolutions and like add in like some quality of life options and like an options menu that functions, and then just like re-release the game. And that's been that's been their business model for a really long time. They kickstarted this remake in 2016, which was like their first big project of, like they like if you look at System Shock, the original Enhanced Edition on Steam, it's made by them, and they like actually like redid parts of the UI and made it function on modern PCs and made it like playable, and also added in an alternative control scheme, which is much more modern. So like they already did work to the original.
Yeah.
But this is an entire ground up remake, like shot for shot, room for room remake of System Shock. And it's kind of incredible actually how well they've managed to map those original environments onto a modern 3D space, because like in 1993, what did they have? They had flat textures with like a PNG on it, right? And
yes.
So they still have those same like flat textures, but they've like rendered all those PNGs. So it's like you walk into this room, and like as me, it's like I remember this hallway. It's like this weird like kind of slanted hallway with like greenery on either side, except like in the original game it was like it's a brown floor with brown walls with some green lines on the side and like lights sort of coming from the ceiling. But now it's got real-time lighting, and like there's actual plants and greenery everywhere, and it's like, wow. And like everything is just like it
you stop and look at it.
Yeah. And apologies, but like they put the little spider enemies in with flamethrowers, and you don't see them, and you just hear them half the time, and you're like, where are you? You're like spinning around with like a gun trying to shoot downwards. And like System Shock I wouldn't quite describe it as a horror game. It's not scary, but there is a lot of dread in a good way. And like the enemies are kind of hysterically goofy, but also like brooding and mean in a way where it's just like you'll come around a corner and you'll hear them stomping back and forth, and you'll like peek around the corner, and then you'll see like this naked mutant just like dun 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 just walking towards, and then he just starts running at you, and you're like, oh god, I'm gonna back up and pull out a hammer, because ammunition is very limited, and the cyborgs just are just like very much like, I'm a video game enemy, and they're just like yelling at you through the walls like, I'm going on patrol, I haven't found anything. Where did he go? It's like
that's great.
I love I love it when video games are just video games and they don't care. Like you play as an unnamed character named the hacker, who hacked into who was hacking into the big corporation that owns the space station, and then they come and abduct you. Not to arrest you, but because you're so good at getting into their systems that they want to hire you to remove the ethical restraints from the space station's AI. This is all like in the first like intro sequence. You remove the ethical restraints from the AI, and then they say, we might have more jobs for you later, and then they stab you in the arm with an injection and knock you out, and you wake up, I think it's 2 years later, inside of one of their cryopods. Then the AI Shodan greets you and says, "Enjoy your stay on Citadel Station." And then you're just, there's mutants everywhere and cyborgs and zombies, and you're just like, well, fuck. I guess I have to like figure out how to get out of here. So you're running around, and it's a cyberpunk game, so you're grabbing implants, and the HUD is like an implant that you find like on a shelf, and like your mini map is an implant that you find in a closet. And like you can miss it and not actually get your mini map implant if you aren't paying attention.
I would so miss it.
It's very much a game about searching every cupboard, looking into every nook and cranny. You have to shoot the cameras to like hurt Shodan's control over the station, and then like Shodan just starts yelling at you, and she's Shodan is the up there with GLaDOS for like best evil AI in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
And she'll just be like, "Enter this room and it will be your demise." And you're like, "Okay, Shodan." You walk into the room, you break the console, and she's like, "Who are you and why did you do that?" And you're just like, "Break this thing." Break another thing. And then like she throws cyborgs at you and goes, "This will be a destroyer." And then you blow it up, and she's just like, "Why?" It's a good time. But
it sounds great.
It's like it's the best mild sci-fi horror game out there, because it's kind of hysterical but also very brooding and dread-filled and kind of scary in places, but also just kind of really funny, and everything's really shiny and nice. And it's a better cyberpunk game than Cyberpunk, because you actually can and this part is actually kind of problematic even for me when it comes to motion sickness, but do you know what a 6 Degrees of Freedom shooter is?
No.
Okay, so 6 Degrees of Freedom shooters are primarily, there was like one or two series of games that popularized them, but they were pretty popular in the 90s, and then nobody's made them since. Really. I mean, there's like one or two indie 6 Degrees of Freedom shooters. But basically, it's a first-person shooter, but there is no up and down, and you can just fly in any... Basically, it's a first-person shooter with no gravity.
Oh, okay.
So you can just fly around in any direction in a 3D space. So Q and E usually just rotates, and then like WASD is just like you can fly around, and then you use the mouse to like look in different directions and like spin around. There are hacking sequences in System Shock, which are quite literally like the scene from Jurassic Park when she goes, "This is a Unix system, I know this." Like you stick your face into a computer console, and then you fly around in 3D cyberspace, and you shoot viruses.
Okay.
And you get to the end of the level, and then something changes in the game in the real world. And if you fail, then you have to do it again. And or like it'll stop some enemies from spawning, or like it'll lower a force field or fix a bridge. And so there's also like this 6 Degrees of Freedom shooter in the game. And from my memory of the original System Shock, they ran like really, really bad and played worse, and were just kind of a weird novelty that just kind of got annoying and sucked by the end of it, but it actually controls really well. But the problem with 6 Degrees of Freedom shooters is they make me violently motion sick. So it's like I have like this 5-minute sequence I need to get through without throwing up. Let's go. But at least the music's good, and they're shiny, and they look pretty. But it's just like, shoot the big shiny things, blow this up, follow the dotted line, get out the other end. But they're kind of neat sequences, so I'm not going to super fault them for that. And they're all pretty short. I think like the longest.
Yeah, as long as it's short, you can probably sit through it, then
and if,
take a bathroom break or so and just calm down again.
Yeah, and then if it gets bad, just like pause or whatever. But like
exactly.
Generally, it's just like you fly into this thing, you're like picking up power-ups. But it's like this weird little arcade minigame that's just in there, and it's like the most 90s thing ever, and nobody makes those anymore. So it's just kind of neat to see. But yeah, no, I am... it took me like a total of 3 hours to beat the System Shock demo, and it's just the first level of the station, and I think there's 8 levels for the whole station, and they get kind of big, but it's nice to just play a completely open game with absolutely no direction, where like you might feel like you're completely stuck and there's no way forward, but what you actually need to do is just listen to a voice log again, because they say the password for the door that you need to get through that's on the other side of the station that you forgot about. And that's the kind of game it is. And it's nice to play a game like that because people don't make games like that anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
Partially for good reason, but also there is a certain level of reward. Like I would say the only studio really making games sort of like that now would be like Dishonored, and why am I blanking on the name of the studio that made Dishonored and Prey? But they're the only people really making that kind of immersive sim these days. So it's nice to see a remake of the granddaddy of that style of immersive sim, where you're shooting out lights so the enemies can't see you, and throwing things, and finding limited health packs and hoarding them, and like picking up ammo off of bodies and reloading guns and recycle. Like there's almost a crafting system in the game. Like you can just go around picking up junk and like put them into a vending machine, which spits out credits, which are these little coins that are little physics objects. And you go and you take them and you put them into a vending machine, and you can get energy drinks which heal you. Like it's just a fun little game, and I'm looking forward to playing through it.
Yeah, it sounds really fun. Definitely not anything I can play, but I live through people like you telling me about these games.
It is literally worth like just going to Google and typing in all Shodan voice lines and just listening to Shodan talk, because and they got the original Shodan voice actress back to
that's so
all
great.
the lines. Yeah. So it's like Shodan is just a really fun character. And she's just entertaining to listen to, and her complete dismissiveness for human life and your life is amusing, but also like her utter confusion when you just bamboozle her in every single situation. She's like, I've got this. There's no way that you can defeat me, or that you just knock over the thing that she was trying to stop you with, and she's like, what? How did you? There's something about her that's just very, very, very funny.
Yeah.
Also, there's like certain lore statements that she might be one of the first trans characters in a video game, because in the manual they refer to Shodan as he, but in the game it's always she, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, okay.
But Shodan's just a cool character, and I'm nonstop amused by, and I look forward to doing inventory Tetris and recycling items and chugging energy drinks that I found off of zombies.
Nice. When is that coming out?
March is their release date, which is not very helpful.
Well,
but
soon.
Like, less than a month.
Yeah.
So sometime in March. So
is this a game that you're going to stream or just play for yourself?
I might take a week off Dwarf Fortress and just play this. That's how excited I am about this game. So I'm very excited about System Shock, and that the kind of weird thing about this remake is like I said, it was kickstarted in 2016. They developed it until 2018 and then put out an announcement saying, we're permanently pausing development because we ran out of money, and this was maybe we bit off more than we could chew, because like Night Dive Studios is a very small studio. They're like a couple, they're like maybe a dozen people. And this is a pretty big game. And then 2020 happened, and they're like, we're developing System Shock again, and we're going to live stream all of it, and we're starting again from the beginning. So they started redeveloping it in 2020 when the pandemic hit, and then they got picked up by Prime Matter, I want to say like sometime in late 21. Now it's releasing, so there are some people that are still mad at the Kickstarter from a billion years ago, but like they are releasing it, so there is that.
Cool.
One other thing that's kind of neat to mention about System Shock, which does return in this version of the game as well, is it has a very for the time very innovative difficulty sliders. There are several different difficulty sliders. There's like I think 8 in total. but one of them is combat. They got puzzles. They've got story. You can and essentially what it is you can say, do I want easy puzzles, medium puzzles, or hard puzzles? Easy combat, medium combat, or hard combat? High variety of pickups, medium variety of pickups, or no variety of pickups. How hard do I want it to be to find items in the world? How hard do I want it to be to find story items in the world? And there's literally like 8 different games there based on the way you set the difficulty slider. Like there is 3 different sets of puzzles for the entire game. Very easy ones that are like you click 2 buttons and the puzzle's done, all the way up to like I'm going to sit here and stare at this thing for 5 minutes on this terminal on this wall to try and figure out where to put these wires. So the difficulty is really, really customizable, and I think that leads to a very wide variety of like interesting difficulty options, which is kind of cool, and I really like that. It runs.
Yeah, more games should have that.
It runs really, really well. I had everything running at ultra on my PC, and it was running at a smooth, buttery, like 100 plus frames a second. It looks great. It's kind of got that, you know, the way Valheim looks, where it's got like those really big pixels.
Yeah,
it's kind of got that look to it. And like you look really closely at everything, it's like pixel art on 3D models. Yeah, it looks great. It runs great. The audio design is pretty great. The only real complaint I have with it is like the melee combat on the zombies is a little weak, but on the other enemies, it's fine. It's literally just the zombies that it's a little meh, which is also kind of like the most common combat interaction you're doing. But also, it's not bad. It's just kind of meh. You know, like the main. I literally wish that they would just turn up the sound effects and just add more squelching sounds when I hit things. Like it's really satisfying when you hit them in the head and their heads explode. But like the rest of the time, it's like I feel like there's not enough impact there.
Yeah.
But I talked way longer about System Shock than I thought I would. I'm excited about System Shock, and I'm going to talk about it more when it releases. So, Kiri, I think it's your turn to pick something off of your list.
Yeah, I just want to say that it's really cool, though, when you're so excited about a game and so passionate about it that you can just talk forever about it, because that just, you know, it shows that you're very excited and you like it.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I got my editor to edit the demo VOD down to 30 minutes so I could put it up to YouTube and they don't yell at me. I might still yell
because it's too long otherwise, or what?
If something isn't Dwarf Fortress and it's really long, a lot of people on the YouTube channel go,
like,
not Dwarf Fortress.
Where are the dwarfs? Yeah, no, okay, I get it.
But generally, people are fine over there. They're quite lovely. But by not Dwarf Fortress, I mean they just don't watch it. But
yeah.
Short.
You need to make it short enough.
If it's short enough, then
people are gonna watch it.
They'll try.
Yeah. That's all you can expect.
Yeah. But
cool.
Yeah, very excited about that. We'll stream the whole thing, and the YouTube channel is gonna have to deal with it.
Yep. That's the way it is.
That is the way it is.
I played a game, and I want to talk about it, but I also want to state right at the start that I didn't like it.
Okay.
Another question is, why did I play it? Achievements. Sometimes it's very sad. However, so I got a key for this game. It's called Garden Inn, and I suppose that's a pun for gardening.
Gardening.
It's garden. New word. Yeah. IN.
Okay.
Exclamation mark. And I thought it's cool. It's you know, one of those wholesome games. It looks really nice, 3D graphics, and all you have to do is you've got a room. You start out with just one, and you can decorate that minimalistically. You unlock more objects as you play, and you can put plant pots there, and then fill it with soil. So there's the 3 different types. There's the soil plants, there's the stone ones, and the water ones. And then you put a seed in there, and then you water that plant. And then you have to graft plants together. I think that's what it is. Yeah. And make new ones. But the downside is that they grow in real time. And that's just bad. Like, I don't want to wait for a plant to grow.
Oh, so it's like almost an idle game?
Yeah, basically. And the plants grow when you have the game closed as well, which is good because, I mean, yeah. But then they dry up. They don't die, but they dry up so quickly that basically it's not really an idle game. Because once you close it, you open it again in an hour, all your plants have dried and are infested with bugs. And then you have to tediously pick up the spray can and click every single plant to remove the bugs, and then you have to water all the plants again. I mean, yeah, that's
So
gardening, I suppose, but
there's no way to like automate things, eh?
no, not at all. You have to do that.
I was gonna
And I
say,
suppose it
in
could be
real life, my
meditative.
plants aren't that high maintenance.
Exactly, right?
Like I
like-
water all my house plants once a week, and in the summer I water
Yeah.
my outdoor plants once a day.
Yeah. But here, they're like super high maintenance, and then plants need to be petted as well.
No,
Plants in need of love have hearts, and then you need to pet it. And I mean, I've petted my plants before, and I also talk to them. That's okay.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen when they're dried up. So basically, you need to have the game running and consistently water them for the plant to give you a chance to pet it, so that it can then evolve and fully grow. And there are so many. I like the idea of it, but the way it was done was just really, really bad.
Yep.
And then also you've got this book showing you what kind of plants you have, and then you've got the shadows of plants showing you need this plant. So this is a new plant, really. And once you've discovered the plant that is needed for it, the shadow turns into the colorful version of it. But none of this can be clicked. So basically you have the picture of two plants, and then you need to go through the book and look for it so that you know what plant you need in order to make the new one. But those are all fictional plants. So that's tedious as well. There should be hyperlinks there, or something like a name, because you have this book telling you all about the plant, how long it takes to grow, what kind of soil it needs, and so on. But they couldn't put the name there, so they can take that as a reference and then look for it in the book. You have to look by picture. Like, I don't know. And then you unlock more rooms as well, and you have to take care of more plants, and they all dry up because you close the game for an hour. It was tedious, but I wanted to finish it, and I did finish it, and I immediately uninstalled it again.
That seems like a bit of a shame.
Yeah, because, I don't know, I thought it was a cool, very, relaxing game that I can just play every now and then. But actually, seeing all your plants just dry up in no time, and then you have to basically start over with taking care of the bugs and watering them again. It's like, progress is so slow when you don't have the game up.
Yeah. No,
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting to look at reviews for this, because all of them are like, note, this is an idle game. And it's like half the people seem like surprised that it's an idle game, because it's very much not marketed as an idle game. But then also hearing your description of it, it sounds like way too active to even be an idle game. Yeah, I don't know. That's,
It was a strange game.
Yeah, that is odd. That is odd.
Yeah, and the achievements were bugged, but the developers were active in the Steam forums, and they took care of it. So now the achievements are all working.
So they unbugged it?
Yes.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, the whole concept is so strange and just not fun. It felt really like a chore.
Yeah. I feel like there's a discussion to be had for, what is it, chill games, low vibes games, chill beats to game and vibe to, non-combat, non-goal, no lose state games, where, like, I kind of don't like them, and I find that, I know they're very popular, like, Sui really likes them, Arch really likes them, but I need there's three things that I really need to enjoy a game. And that is a thing that I'm working towards, a failure state, and reason to work towards that thing. Which is funny, because I'm like the person who plays Dwarf Fortress, but Dwarf Fortress has so many possible things I could be working towards that it becomes something kind of different and has plenty of failure states, so it's not a problem for me. But
yeah,
at the same time, if I play something like, I don't know, Bear and Breakfast, which is a game that came out recently, where like, you can't really lose in that game. There's no real reason to actually complete the goals in that game. You don't really get meaningful progression for completing the goals in that game. You just kind of get some more things to put around, which is fine. and the game doesn't really change as you're progressing. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's a chill game." It's like, no, it's a boring game. This is the way my brain goes. And I think that there is a point where certain games work. Like, I think Unpacking is maybe an example of a chill game that I would describe, where it's like,
that has a good story.
but like yeah, exactly. It's because it had a great narrative and like an objective. You have to unpack everything.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've played games that go too far, or I've played some games and I've seen a lot of games that go far in the direction of we're chill, and they almost use it as like a shield for poor game design in places, and it just kind of sucks, you know. Like, and for me, that's also like Animal Crossing very much falls into that area where it's just like, well, I could just not, and if I don't, what do I get? Well, there's bugs everywhere. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely get what you're saying. I need a goal. I'm also very bad just with sandbox modes in other games. Like when the game has a goal, there's a campaign, for example, great. That game has a sandbox mode, I will never play it. What am I going to do in there?
Yeah.
But those wholesome games, there are certain games where you don't have anything. It's basically just a sandbox game. One I can think about is Townscaper, where it looks really good, nice, very colorful. You build a town, and depending on what types of, I don't know, building parts, structures you place somewhere, it changes the shape.
See,
cool idea. Looks nice. But what am I going to do in there? It doesn't have a goal, a story, achievements. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Yeah. Is it a game? I don't know. What's?
I mean, like for me, Townscaper feels a lot like a game that I played recently called Ramp, and I've also played Townscaper.
Okay.
But like, there's a point where, because like there's wholesome games, right? And then there's digital toys, if that makes sense.
Oh.
And to me, Townscaper and Ramp fall under digital toy because they're very far in a direction, but they're not necessarily wholesome games. They're just, here is a set of things that you can play with.
Yeah, it's like I don't know, just a simulator.
Not even that, because they're not really simulator. Because like Ramp is just like, here is some very, very simple, very, very satisfying skateboarding mechanics in a little isometric screen. And although Ramp does actually have achievements, so there's achievements for completing certain tricks on certain maps. And I've got one more to do, which is I need to spin 1080 while airborne in any level except for the mega ramp, which I haven't done yet. I need to go back into there and keep grinding and try and do that. But like, I played that game for like 6 hours, and it's just like, it's like 5 maps, and they're just little different skate parks, and you just practice doing tricks, and you can get achievements. But like, it's just it's I wouldn't even describe it as a wholesome game. It's a toy. It's like playing Tech Deck.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very wholesome. I don't know. Wholesome for me kind of needs a story, cute graphics, and a story.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't know. Okay, maybe not a story. I suppose if it's about a pet, I suppose that could be wholesome without a story. But toy is a really good word of describing it. What I meant with simulation was, I don't know. It's like maybe like Unity, where you've got this, I don't know, sandbox program, and you put something in there, and then you simulate how it behaves in a way.
Sure.
So like that war simulator. I think that's a thing, right? Or I think recently, like an atomic catastrophe simulator came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I also wouldn't call that a game.
How about something like Cloud Garden? Because I would call Cloud Gardens a puzzle game.
I don't know that. I'll look it up.
You didn't play Cloud Gardens?
Cloud Gardens?
Oh my God.
No, I did not.
You probably could play Cloud Gardens. It's like there's a 3D object that you rotate.
I see it.
Screen with like a blank background. The whole point.
Yeah, I could play that. Okay, what does it do?
The whole point of it is you have a little diagram, and it's a little post-apocalyptic diagram, not diagram. Diorama. That's the word. You have a little post-apocalyptic diorama, and your goal is to completely overgrow it with plants. And you have a limited number of plants, and each plant has different behaviors and grows on different materials. And the idea is to completely cover it in plants, and they're real plants.
Okay.
And they behave more or less how the real plants would behave. So if you know a little bit about plants, it's kind of fun. But if you don't know anything about plants, then it's like, I'm going to place this seed here and watch how it grows. Okay, I'm going to delete this and move this over here. And it's kind of like a little spatial management puzzle game where...
Sounds like a puzzle, yeah.
But it also has like a sandbox mode where you can just place all the plants everywhere. But like
Okay.
the goal of the game is to just like cover the entire level in plants, and then it gives you the next one. And there's a limited number of puzzles there. So it that is what I would describe as like a wholesome game, where like the whole idea of it is to just complete this, move on to the next puzzle. Complete this, move on to the next puzzle.
Yeah.
You know, you make cool plants grow.
Yeah, totally.
But
how did we get here?
I don't know. You'd probably really like Cloud Gardens. It also has achievements. And it also has a pretty rare one, which is grow 10,000 plants in total.
Wow.
I'll probably just do that in Sandbox mode pretty quick if they count those. Click, click,
probably,
click, 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 click.
Although
click,
Sandbox,
click, click.
yeah, that's a question if it counts for achievements or not. Some games don't let it count.
But
yeah, I need purpose in a game. And I do like wholesome games, because not for streaming, but just for me to relax and wind down. It's just nice. But if there's no purpose, then it's just like you said, like I could just not, right? Because that's also not fun for me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Things just needing more, I guess.
Yeah. I don't really need a fail condition. That's something I don't need, but I need the purpose and a goal, and you know, why am I doing this? Not just okay, so this is the goal, but like, why should I?
I need a goal that doesn't just feel like busy work. Otherwise, I just want it to be an idle game, like a clicker. You know, like I love Space Plan, which is just busy work, but it's busy work to get half a paragraph of dialogue of story, right?
Yeah,
it's like I'm gonna click this potato for like a minute, and then you give me a bit of dialogue, and by the end of it, you've read like a 100-page short story. Kind of
that's good.
I really liked Space Plan. Space Plan is a special thing, and nobody talks about Space Plan anymore. But I think we've kind of exhausted our video games list here, so why don't we go to news?
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll be right back after this. And we're back with the news section of the Halcyon Frequency podcast. And we got a couple news stories here. Some more upbeat, some more downbeat. But let's, Kiri, do you want to take this first one?
Yeah, start with a downbeat, I suppose.
I suppose so.
Games Done Quick, the huge charity event that's happening every year, they have banned Hogwarts Legacy.
Not only that, but all Harry Potter games, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, true.
So
it's a statement. It's definitely a statement.
So I'm going to be very careful with this. I think we probably both need to be. But
wait, yeah.
GDQ is a very much a I think an activism group in their own right, as like, you know, they raise huge amounts of money for cancer research every year, like literal millions of dollars. But they're also very public in their opinions on, you know, common matters like trans rights. So I'm kind of not surprised by this at all. This kind of makes a lot of sense. I think it wouldn't fit the GDQ brand to allow streaming of Harry Potter games as part of their events. I know for a fact I've seen the older Harry Potter games at GDQ before. But like, this just kind of makes sense. It would be weird because like, regardless of what games you play in your own time and what games what media you consume in your own time, games being streamed on a public platform promotes them and helps them sell, regardless of if that's the point of the live stream, regardless of what the streamer is saying. And if it's promoting a brand that hurts a portion of people, and those people are like do not want that, and if you're running a brand that caters to that audience, it makes no sense to allow for games that would upset people. And regardless of whether or not it's directly financially benefiting J.K. Rowling, which in most cases it's not, the promotion of that brand does. So this just makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
I don't really want to go into more detail because it's such a sore subject everywhere.
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's just,
yeah,
I'm kind of,
it is noteworthy.
I'm just kind of surprised they hadn't banned other Harry Potter games already with what J.K. Rowling's been saying for the last like 2 years. But like, here we are. Next one, also kind of a sore spot. So, Atomic Heart's a video game, and in there, okay, so the developer of Atomic Heart, a company called Mundfish, has a old EULA that they have completely just like downplayed and denied exists on their website, which I'm pretty sure has since been removed, but there's screenshots of it that states that they are 100% going to send all user information to the Russian government. Part 1.
Oh.
Part 2. The video game developer Mundfish, and I'm almost in conspiracy theory territory here, but like this will make this part make a little bit more sense. That developer is based in Cyprus, and they describe themselves as a international development team with no headquarters. But a large portion of their funding comes from a literal Russian oligarch and massive shareholders in Russian petroleum companies.
Mm-hmm.
So while those two, the individuals that are funding the studio and the studio itself is not based in Russia, and while their money is coming from various places, a large portion of their money is coming from people who are not currently sanctioned, but probably should be. Releases a game that is full of very pro, I guess, Stalinism imagery. And yes, it's a work of fiction, cyberpunk fiction with a very Stalin-heavy bent. But when you take that, you look at who they're funded by, and you look at that EULA that they claim never existed, it's just
so problematic.
Weird. And it's just a bad time. And they released the game on the 1-year anniversary, practically, of Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. It's just
why did they not?
Weird.
It is weird. It's like either they don't care, do they?
Yeah. I mean, they describe themselves as apolitical. Apolitical my asshole.
Yeah, no, you can't be with all of that. Absolutely not.
And so it's for me, it has nothing to do with like, and I've seen varying directions and points on this game from various sources, and people seem to fall in one of two camps, which is, this is kind of weird, and why would you get mad at this? It's a work of fiction. Completely fair. It's a work of absolute fiction, and I think in any other world, in any other timeline where that invasion didn't happen, the funding would still be a little weird, and I'd be a little bit concerned about them sending their user data to the Russian government potentially.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty normal. I mean, that's no different than playing Genshin Impact and them sending your information to the Chinese government, right? So it's weird, and I don't like it. Probably wouldn't play the game based on that, but also okay. But it's just so tone deaf and weird in the current world that we live in. It just makes me scratch my head. Also, it has like locked motion smoothing for mouse in a first-person game on PC in the current year, and no FOV slider. So that's my actual criticism. Anyway, cool. Australian music composer Mick Gordon very well known for composing soundtrack for a little indie game called Doom. Did the audio for the game, and he tweeted out a screenshot of some text in Ukrainian flag colors, stating that he's donating the money that he got paid for the music of this game to support. I think it's Australian Red Cross, specifically for Ukrainians' crisis. And it's Australian Red Cross because he's Australian. So
that's great.
To me, that is not. Is admission of guilt the wrong word to use? To me, that just kind of like points a finger at it, going, "Yeah, there's definitely more things this developer isn't saying."
Yeah, maybe not admission of guilt, but I'm sure he realizes how weird all of that looks together. And he wants to make the statement that, yes, I've made the music for this, but also I do not, condone that. I don't want to be part of this, but I'm using the money that I made for something good.
Also, he most certainly got contracted to do this more than a year ago, right? Like this game's been knocking around
probably
in previews for. I mean, it's an Unreal Engine 4 game, but like I swear that like this game has existed in some format for like in the public sphere for like what feels like forever. Like I remember seeing early preview footage of this game probably like 3-4 years ago, maybe more. So this game's been around for a while, which maybe lessens the weirdness a little bit, but yeah, I don't know. It's it's just weird.
The least they could have done is just move the release date.
Move the release date, or like maybe be a bit more transparent, I suppose. But I don't know. For me, when it comes to Atomic Heart, like this isn't a situation where I'm gonna bash people for playing it. I just think it's weird. Like I play it, promote it. It looks like a fine video game. Who cares? But like it's just weird. Really.
Yeah. There's a lot of weirdness with that.
Like I said earlier, I think it's about as weird as playing something like Genshin Impact. So with that aside, we got some fun news, some good news.
Yeah. It's not weird.
Something not weird. I'm gonna copy paste a thing into the document for this, so that Arch has a link for editing later. But timestamped in the description of this podcast is a link to the DICE Awards, which was streamed on IGN's YouTube channel, and Dwarf Fortress, a little indie game that I appear to be a bit of a fan of, won Best Strategy Game at DICE Awards in Vegas.
That's pretty cool.
Which is very funny watching the chat get real mad.
I never heard of DICE Awards before.
DICE Awards are the award, in my opinion, one of the awards festivals that actually matters. It's
Is that only gaming awards?
I need to Google what DICE stands for, and I need to do this every single time. DICE Awards.
So it's a like an annual
Arch can edit
award.
this out if he wants. Probably won't. Because it's an acronym. It stands for something. It's the Design, Innovate, Communicate, Entertain Awards. It's basically like, it's not quite the Game Developer Awards, but it's it's a video games industry awards event that happens at the ARIA Convention Center in Las Vegas, which is where TwitchCon NA is happening, I think.
Exciting.
And it's one of the few awards ceremonies that actually matters. Like, also apparently Elden Ring got Game of the Year. Well, who's surprised by that? It Takes Two got last one. Hades before that. Untitled Goose Game, God of War. Just looking at previous winners. So, cool. Dwarf Fortress got Best Strategy Game, which is, I think kind of funny, just because I watched the clip on the stream, and like I said, seeing chat go what was amusing, because it's very obvious with things like this that large portions of the games industry, or not games industry, but games audience, I guess, like doesn't pay any attention to indie stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of cool to get to see Zach and Tarn go on stage and give a little speech.
Yeah, that is really cool, and they've definitely earned it. I think that's great. What shocks me is what you just said, with a large portion of the gamers not knowing about indie games, not being aware. Because I see that around me as well, and it's just so mind-boggling. Because I'm just inside those indie games, right?
Totally.
I get so many emails, and just like I know of them. But then if you just have, I don't know, like your 1-2 games that you always play, I guess you would just stick with that. I know you watch content creators. I mean, for that specific game, but
I listen
wow.
to quite a bit of mainstream games coverage, right? And in podcast format. I listen to about 8 different podcasts about video games. Some very consistently, some every other episode or something. But some of them cover indie games quite a bit. But 2 of the ones that I listen to are pretty mainstream focused. Like one of them just straight up has like an hour chunk in almost every episode talking about nothing but Call of Duty. But like they all have their own niches of indie games, right? Like one of the podcasts I listen to, they talk about mostly AAA stuff, and then occasionally like big releases, like they'll probably be talking about Sons of the Forest, like they talked about Grounded and stuff like that. But then they'll talk about like FMV games, right? Which is a niche that I know nothing about, which is just like, full motion video games with like, people and actors. So I listen to a lot of podcasts that talk about games that I'm not familiar with to like keep up with what's going on, right? And I'm just crazy like that, I guess. And also I like pretending that there's other people in my apartment. This box isn't so empty, so I listen to other people talk. But when I do that, it's like it's kind of surprising to me, because like there was, I think, an episode on the Giant Bombcast like a couple of years ago now where one of them mentioned, they had a guest on who mentioned RimWorld. And not like as they play RimWorld, but just like the existence of RimWorld, and nobody knew what it was. And this was around the time like RimWorld was releasing, so this would have been a good couple of years ago, right? So this would have been like 2018 or something, maybe 2019 even. Like I think it might have been out for like 8 months or something. And one of their guests was like, "Have any of you heard of RimWorld?" And they were like, vaguely, like they knew of it. And like that's a game that at that point had sold like what, 3 million copies, right? Like that is such a small game, and it's like, and that is not uncommon, because like like if you go to YouTube and you look up RimWorld, like you'll find some videos on YouTube with some large numbers of views, but like how many people actively are covering that game? Really?
Yeah.
Like, and same with Dwarf Fortress. It's like, how many people are actively covering Dwarf Fortress that get numbers? I guess like me, and then maybe like 3 other people.
Yeah.
Right. And like these niches that we operate in, these bubbles, are very small.
They are. I don't know. It doesn't seem like that from the inside, but apparently.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
I think like the extent of like a lot of mainstream games coverage goes is, it's like, okay, they know that Paradox makes games for crazy people. But that's about it. I guess it's like,
well,
they're just like that weird publisher. And I guess most of them would know like Frontier Developments exists.
Yeah.
But I don't even know where.
Hopefully, I don't know.
But yeah.
Indies are great.
Yeah, where would we be without indies?
I certainly wouldn't be here.
Yeah, neither would I. Ooh, Hot Wheels Unleashed is $16. That might actually be cheap enough for me to buy it. I want to drive Hot Wheels cars up a wall. Seems fun. So I think we're kind of running towards the end of this podcast. So I'm going to see if we are ranking anywhere. And where we are on the charts currently. They send me emails on Mondays, and it's not a Monday yet. So are we currently ranked anywhere right now? It appears that we are currently, on average, ranking 132 in Europe for various regions. And that's mostly thanks to Poland, because currently, at the time of recording, as of the 23rd, which was yesterday, we are the 57th most popular podcast in Poland, in the video games and leisure categories. We are also the 240th most popular podcast in the UK for video games and leisure.
Thank you to all the listeners. That's really cool.
Yep. That's so that's the notice update. That's kind of interesting. We spiked up in Poland. We've definitely got somebody must be going through the backlog in Poland. That's my assumption.
That's cool.
But it's cool. Shout outs to our Polish audience, I suppose. So I guess it's time to kind of wrap this podcast up. So Kiri, who the heck are you, and where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, I'm Kiri, 2D Kiri, and people can find me on, like, the easiest is just 2dkiri.com. I have a second channel now on Twitch, actually, a co-working channel, because I don't know, all the cool kids are doing it, so I'm doing it too. And it's called To Do Kiri, because I like to-do lists. I think it's really funny. I'm very proud of it.
And I'm Blind. You can find me at Blind IRL on all platforms, more or less. And I'm glad that you're enjoying the co-working thing. I co-work stream on my bots account, which is Calcium Crypt, which is, I guess, maybe a little crappier branding there, but I also don't care that much. People can watch that stream if they want. They can listen to my stoner
it's
rock
fine.
while I edit videos. But if you want to find more episodes of this podcast, you can find us over at halcyonfrequency.com. And if this podcast doesn't show up in places where you listen to podcasts, let me know and I'll do my best to make it show up there. But I'm pretty sure we're everywhere at this point. And if you happen to be on a platform where you're allowed to leave reviews, all reviews help, but they help the most over on iTunes. I think we're a 5-star podcast, but frankly, any amount helps. And don't leave an actual review in there. Just go to iTunes and put your favorite brownies recipe in there, or favorite baking recipe in general, because I'm looking for more recipes, and it would be really nice to just get recipes in my email instead of like, good podcast, thumbs up. So just like copy paste your favorite baking recipe in there, because I would love to know. And aside from that, new episodes go up every Sunday. So until next week, don't touch that dial. This is Halcyon Frequency signing off. I didn't script the outro this time.
Do you usually do that?
I did the